consider when you gonna make all ceramics material. Because right now there are a lot of ceramics material that you're gonna use. Start from your DFM, your circular, but I think you need to know the basic knowledge before you can choose and how to use it very well. What is ceramics? When you say ceramics, by definition, it's inorganic. It's organic mean, so it's not polymer, not metal. The solid material that are not polymer and metal, they are all ceramics. Okay? Ceramic is a solid compound. Compound means more than one thing together. If you look at left side and right side, it's between combined between these two metal, non-metal that is solid, and something on the right side here. For example, you see metal, non-metal, like the tungsten carbide, metal and gas, zirconium that we are very familiar with, aluminum, solid and solid that are not metals. We got silicon carbide, sandpapers that we use ceramic on the paper, and non-metal gas like silica. We are using glass, or porcelain, something like that. By use ceramic essence, actually it can be uncountable. If we talk about the art of ceramics, so it can be used in our work. Don't worry, it's wrong background. So it's not limited just to compound, but it's compound, right? Like this one, you know that is the material of insulant. Okay, it's liquid basically. This one more than one. Lithium, silica, and oxygen. Okay, this is hydrogen type. You know that our teeth and bone, they are ceramics. Okay, this is for type. And you know that the things that the ladies love is ceramic, diamond. Diamond is ceramic. So it's only one single material that is ceramics. Okay, the property of ceramic why is very popular. Now we use a lot of ceramic. Why? Because it's very biocompatible. Because when you use the ceramic car, you can see the part accumulation is very low comparing to metal and PFM. Okay, aesthetic, no wonder. It's good because of its quality. It's very translucent. That's why ceramic is very beautiful. It's very nice thing, especially in comparison. But the problem is brittle. You have to be careful. You cannot, when you make a two preparation, you have to be aware of the sharp corner, something like that. So everything is going to be rounded. So, because if you have something like that, it's going to be fractured very easy. And no corrosion. Ceramic, no corrosion. Because it's corrode already. That's what I mean, because it's in the form of oxide or anything like that. So ceramic, corrosion cannot occur on ceramics. So ceramic is the most stable material. Before we understand the ceramic always have two things together. One thing is crystal. Crystal. If you look at zirconium, if you like this range, you can call it range of crystal. Okay. Crystal is something like very strong, and if you look at the atomic level, you're going to look at the structure. Atomic is going to be on the left side. Okay, it's very ordered. Your speed is if you look to the left side, down, you can see the same thing. This is called crystal structure. If something that's not crystal is called glass. Like glass, window glass is very clear. But there's nothing like this in the structure. But that also always has to be together. For the glass, you have a little bit like a crystal in there. But for something that we have staying, like zirconium, you have a lot of crystal in there packed together. If you look at each grain, you can see something like a very order in there. For example, this is silica. Silica on the left side is something like you're going to have the structure like this. So if you want to make a window very clear, you cannot have a glass like this because you're going to see something like the dot in the window glass, like a glass over here. Okay? You must have the structure like this. That's called glass. Okay? And first of all, just what's in the book that said is intrinsically transparent. You understand? Transparent is very clear. Why? Why the ceramic in the nature is not very clear like that? What happened to the ceramic? You know, in the nature like that, not very clear. What happened? Because the ceramic in the nature of not, you're going to see a lot of crystal here. In the ceramic, like the cut and in the mud or anything like that. Zirconia, alumina, you see it's very opaque, it's white, it's not clear like that because of there's a lot of crystal in there. When the light passes through each one, it can pass easily. When you see the grain battery in it, the light may be reflect back or absorbed in the end. So the light cannot pass through the circuit because of the crystal structure like that. For example, if you look at this, they are all aluminum, alumina, right? This one, they are all aluminum. While alumina on the left side is very pure. While the right side is, you cannot see the letter behind it. What happened? But this one is only one crystal. It's a simple crystal. So that's why it looks like grass. It's like only one grain over here. Very big. And this one you have a little bit crystal grains in there. So you can see a little bit later over there. Okay. If you have a lot of crystal there, when the light passes through each one can pass one. The second one might be reflected off or absorbed or scattered or anything like that. So the light cannot pass through, the polycrystal over here. Okay, if you look at by definition, single crystal is a solid, in which you have one thing that we have a perfect arrangement of atoms. Everything is going to be in the perfect arrangement. Okay, in one crystal. If you have another one, maybe angle shape between, like an atom arrangement, something like that. Just think about that. You put something like a stone, in the cement, something like that. So maybe it's stronger, something like that. This is alumina. Alumina in the nature, why is something like this? The ladies love it. And this one alumina that we made for the structure of the crown. Okay? Because of this one is simple crystal, it's just one crystal. That's why it's very clear. The light can pass through easily. But you can see the color, different color, maybe contamination of the other oxide. You can see, this one is simple crystal. Okay? This one is fake diamond. Why fake diamond is very clear? Because it's only one crystal. But for the zirconia that we use in our cavities, you're going to see that it's very white, okay, the light cannot pass through easily because there's a lot of crystal in there. Okay. So maybe it's very strong, but this one is single crystal. And why it's so expensive? Because you cannot find this thing easily in nature. Because the nature when you form it, you cannot find it easily in the nature. If you find it easily, it's going to be cheap. Because it's hard to find something that happened very big in only one single crystal. That's why it's very expensive. Like diamond. But in the nature, you cannot find this one very big. Okay? You can find it very small. So that's why it's not very clear like that. If you take a look at the composition of metal ceramics, okay, we can think about just, crystal structure like glass. If the ceramic contains a lot of glass, its name is very clear. So it's very few crystal. It's going to belong to this group like glass, porcelain, very static. These are materials. Okay? Under the green line, okay, it's going to be the group of polycrystal like glass ceramic. The most popular one is the Remax that we use a lot anti-antiquity. Or polycrystal ceramic like zirconia. All the materials below this line going to be polycrystal. That's why also they are used like a form of the ceramic as a substructure because they are very strong. But for the first one, glass or porcelain, it contains a lot of glass. Very few crystal to make it stronger, a little bit stronger, or to change the color. Okay, that's why I'm going to put on the top of the circuit board. But if you study, most of them are 3D Sweden, like feldspar. Feldspar, what is feldspar? Feldspar is a group of aluminum silicate. Don't worry about the name of the feldspar. Feldspar is just, you know, belong to this group of aluminum silicate glass. But the difference is just, you know, at the beginning, maybe oxide of potassium, aluminum, sorry, sodium or calcium. No, feldspar with phosphate belong to aluminum silicate gas, and this group of material is very clear. That's why we put it, you know, like a veneer or put it on the structure on the metal or on the zirconia to make it beautiful. And if you look at the structure of the glass, you're going to see a little bit crystal here. Glass or phosphate in this group, you're going to see a little crystal, and the main composition is the glass. That you don't see something like dot over there. And most of the crystal that we use in the porcelain or veneer, we use lucite, fluoroapatite, like in this group is Maxillan. Or the gasoline. What is gasoline? You think about gasoline. Gasoline is a polycrystal as well, actually. But why this one is very beautiful, I can talk about it later. For the gasoline, you think about gas ceramic. What the gasoline means? The crystal from the gas is being, you have to, you know, like a crystal in the glass is come from the gas itself. It's being in the process, if you make it, if you look to do here, you know, when you start something like this, it's not look like us right here. You know, when you look back, then you come down, and you have to heat it up a little bit, and you have to heat it up to a certain temperature that we call the process of post-crystallization. And after that, in that period, the crystal will occur in that thing. Okay, that's why this group of material is called glass ceramic. It's made of ceramic or crystal from glass. Okay? So we can see at the beginning, we see the beta superlative. When we start with something is very clear. After we burn it, okay, the crystal will occur and it's change the color to the white color acid, similar to the soot structure. And why this one, if you look at it in the morning, you use a lot of something like this, talk about Emax. Why it's very beautiful, why it's very translucent. Because the gas element, because this crystal, if you look at this microstructure of it, this crystal came from the gas itself. That's why, you know, because this one made from its own gas, right? Crystal occur from own gas. You're gonna, and it's index of reflection is going to be the same. That's why when the light passes through one crystal, it acts as, you know, don't say, oh, sorry. Why this one is very, very beautiful? Because when the light passes through, you know, the light maybe just cannot detect the crystal over there. Like it just pass through easily. That's why this one of material is very clear and translucent. And for another group of ceramic is character infiltrated ceramic. This one is ceramic. Okay? This probably making a crystal like us in a slip casting technique. At the beginning, if you used to make it in the lab, we start with put the powder and liquid together and you burn it. And at the first step, it's very brittle. You can squeeze it and it will be broken. And after that, you have to put the glass in between. That's why the glass gonna combine the crystal together. After that, when you burn it again, this one gonna be very strong. So the glass gonna, combine the crystal together and make it very strong. So this group of material belongs to a polycrystal material as well. And the last group of the ceramic is a polycrystalline ceramic. Yeah. This type of ceramic contain almost no glass in there. You can see the atomic structure is very close packed. You cannot see any space between grain or between the crystal. So this group of ceramic is very strong. Because you put something like a crystal packed together, and it's hard to break it. And if you look at the stain and the fracture toughness, okay, you're going to see that the polycrystal is very high stain compared to, sorry, let me go to. Okay, compared to the group that contain more glass, polycrystal is very strong compared to the group that like a lithium-based glass or gas or gas-insulated aluminum. The polycrystal, when it is stronger than something that contains glass. When you look at the survivability of the PFM compared to the ceramic, okay, in the past we used a lot of PFM. But right now we use all our own ceramic. But in the past, the ceramic is also ceramic material have the bad record compared to a metal ceramic system, like a survival rate, like 95% compared to around 87%. And most of the problem with the all ceramic material is about 40%. It's about chipping. Chipping means the ceramic came off of the material. Compared to metal ceramic, it's around 2%. Okay? And for the zirconia, in the past 10 years, we use a lot of zirconia, but the zirconia at the beginning, they have a problem about the fitting of it. That's why the margin have the discoloration because of the gap at the margin and the two structure. When compared PFM with all the all-ceramic system, metal ceramic have a lower ceramic compared to all-ceramic system. And most of the time, if you use just a glass ceramic framework, you're going to see the framework fracture a lot. That's why the zirconia comes later, okay? And zirconia have more stable framework material. But the problem of the zirconia in the past is about the misfit of the substructure and the tooth. That's why you're going to see discoloration or secondaries at the margin. And finally, you're going to lose the indentation. And moreover, the ceramic fracture or chipping of the zirconia, we see a lot of chipping in the zirconia at the beginning. So during the last 10 years, I did one research. I tried to make a measurement between the zirconia and the porcelain. And I found that the bond strength of the zirconia and the porcelain is very low. Comparing to the glass ceramic and the porcelain. Okay? That's why the problem of chipping the zirconia happened in the past. And I do another research. And now, in 2014, I found that now the zirconia is better comparing to the past in the early stage of the zirconia. And instead of being a chipping for the zirconia so on, there's a lot of studies that found that, like 50%, 30%, sometimes 75% the chipping of the ceramic from the zirconia. Okay. There are a lot of studies, talk about chipping, or even all the porcelain came out of the zirconia. A lot of studies found that, the zirconia chipping occurred, at the arsenic material of the zirconia. And if you see the number of the zirconia chipping compared to the metal ceramic, this is like a chemical study. So we found that there's a lot of chipping, like large chipping, small chipping, even delamination. This means everything came out of the structure of the zirconia. Compared it to the metal ceramic, just a little bit chipping, small chipping there, the lamination. Okay. This is one of the cases that my patient come with, the PFM. So he doesn't like the color of the PFM. Okay, that's why we change it to like a zirconia substructure. But after 1 year's usage, you can see the chipping of the zirconia and the porcelain happen over here. But he's still okay. Just make it with the composite glazing. And it's okay to do it right now. But the incident of chipping happen easily. We try to use it in the active but it's still something like it occur. But we cannot use the other system because if you see it's over here, you use a cantilever which if you use the other system it's not strong enough. That's why we use it. There adds a certain substructure over there. But the incident of chipping is occurred just after 1 year. Because of this kind of problem, right now the manufacturer try to avoid use the veneer. Instead of using veneer, they use the whole thing as a zirconia. They call it monolithic distillation. Even in the commercial is indestructible in nature. Okay, which means cannot be broken if you use a monolithic zirconia. Why zirconia is very strong? It's very well known that zirconia have this property. Zirconia have a key crystallographic form, at the beginning, when you heat it up to around 2000 something degrees Celsius, the structure is going to be cubic. And after you cool it down, around 1000 something, the structure is going to change to be a tetrahedral. And after you cool it down below 1000 degrees Celsius, the temperature is going to turn to be monoclinic. And what happens when it turns to monoclinic? It's going to expand around 4%. It means it's maybe from this, and it's going to be better. What happens in the circuit is it increase the volume. The fracture can happen. And scientists discovered something that if you put oxide, some oxide like lithium oxide, silicon oxide in the zirconia, this way is going to maintain, tetrahedral is going to maintain the structure. Okay? And what happens? You can contain this structure in the zirconia. It's going to, resist the crack when there is a stain in the material. This process called state-induced transformation happening mechanism. What happens when the crack occurs in the zirconia? Okay. When the crack occurs, this process called state-induced transformation. The zirconia allows the crack to expand around 4%. So when you try to open the crack, the zirconia is going to expand, try to squeeze it down. That's why zirconia is very strong. Okay. By adding some oxide like lithium or silicon or the other oxide, calcium oxide, something like that, and this process is going to occur in the zirconia. So the zirconia right now is the strongest material that we use in the dental ceramics. For the monolithic restoration, the zirconia like this. At the beginning, it's largely white in nature. When you look at the patient in the mouth, okay, this is one of my patients, but she's okay. Instead of making a metal, the zirconia look fine in the oral cavity. If you look at the X-ray, because of the high density of zirconia look like a metal. Okay, because the density of zirconia around 6 grams per cubic centimeters. Okay. And this is certainly trying to improve its translucency. Now, if you look at the zirconia over here, now it looks matched in the oral cavity. Sorry about the picture, sometimes I just use the cell phone and take it. But to change the color of zirconia, most of the time you have to use a staining technique, okay, by painting the color at the crown and the color not much. But after you adjust the occlusion, so the color that you add is going to change to white, something like that. Okay, okay, you look at white, check it here, and this certainly is okay. Look at it, all clarity. It's not too much. It's suitable for the molars. And the problem with the zirconia, when you try to bond the zirconia, it's very hard. But if you want to bond something like glass, like Emax or porcelain, we just use the silane, we etch it, and use silane apply on the porcelain, and you bond it with laser cement. So it's easy. Because of silane, one side is a polymer, going to contact to the polymer in the laser cement, and one side is going to bond to the glass or silica on the porcelain or glass. But for the zirconia, we cannot use etching like a hydrofluoric acid to etch it. That's why zirconia cannot be bonded by silane. Okay. Even if you use this acid, cannot make anything on the zirconia. That's why the researcher tried to discover something that give the bond to the two structure. But a lot of studies found that MDP, containing materials, give a higher bond strength to the zirconia. But why we need to worry about it? If you make a good preparation, okay, you have a good retention form, basis form. Actually, you can do any cement, but people try to do the basic cement to bond the zirconia. Okay. That's why they try to do research and found that MDP monomer or on the cement, primer, or anything can give a higher bond strength to the zirconia. If you want to do laser cement. These are the examples of MDP containing zirconia. Sometimes it's going to be in the cement, sometimes at the primer that you apply on the glue structure, sometimes it's mixed in the bonding or adhesive. Okay, this is the Japanese researchers did a lot of research about bonding with zirconia. That's why when you look at the material, it came from Japan a lot. Okay, except this one from the iron that we use in the name of the material. I forgot that we use for the engineer. Okay. It's body Olympic, I think, okay, more than one is body Olympic, but the other is from Japan. So when right now zirconia is very popular, but the people don't just worry about, at the beginning, like 10 years ago, we have a problem with you. If the dentist have the experience making the zirconia crown, you can see sometimes it can be walking, or you can rotate a little bit on the apartment. That's why if you look at the research, this one time you look at the gap between the zirconia and the tooth structure, and then make a measurement between the gap at the margin and the axial wall, this angle and opposite. If you look at the gap, okay, the mean gap is look fine, like a 90, 200, a little bit bad. But if you look at the maximum gap of the zirconia, sometimes you make a preparation, like a 2 millimeter over here, is 1,700 maximum gap that can be measured in the experiment. You can see that if you make a preparation like 2 millimeters, what happened? You have a gap around 1.7 millimeters. What happened? So it's not enough for your preparation. That's why at the beginning, zirconia have a bad experience about the gap underneath, especially at the opposite angle. You see, if you look at the average, it's okay, 88, because the acceptable gap is around 130 micron, but 88 looks fine. But the opposite gap is a lot. But when you make a measurement, the maximum gap that you can measure is around almost 2,000, between around 2 millimeters. That's why at the early stage of the zirconia, the problem of the gap a lot. That's why it's not very popular. Even 10 years ago, I tried for one using zirconia because I had a problem with the preparation that not enough. Okay, in the last 4 years, I did the same thing, making make a measurement at the gap of the zirconia and the tooth structure. Okay, now it's better, like this study compared the gap of the crown and the ridge of the zirconia structure. We think that we thought about if you have the ridge, it's longer. Because zirconia you cannot process it with any method except you have to do CAD. Like only the CAD-CAM technique can process the zirconia. What is CAD-CAM? You know that already, right? You have to scan the die or the tooth structure or the oral cavity, and then you're going to decide with the computer. And the zirconia, you have to burn it. You have to burn it from the all sides, and then it's going to contact after firing. It's going to be calculated to make a fit at the abutment. Okay, when you do research, right now is, orthosoft gap is okay. It's around 150, 160, but when you make a bridge, maybe use around 200 something. If you look at the overall structure, you see the gap in the margin. The blue color is crown. The purple color is the bridge. Okay, the margin of gap look okay. Okay, but if you look at the opposite, it still have a little problem, but it's better. Less than 1,000 or it's around 200 or 100 something. So the gap at the opposite is still a lot, but right now it's better than the past. And looking at the translucency of the surface, what is the translucency? Translucency means it's also when the light passes the material, and sometimes the light can pass through it. Sometimes it just scatters or just reflects back from the object. If your material is very translucent, it means the light can pass through the tooth structure underneath. It means it's going to be harmless with the tooth structure. So we want the material that is very translucent or also the restoration. If you look at the translucency property, look at this one is porcelain. This one is porcelain with the makeup. You can see in one study they make a contrast ratio. Contrast ratio, what does it mean with the contrast ratio? Let's explain it a little bit. Okay. They just put the ceramic and put the color black underneath and white underneath, okay, and tie to make the measurement of the light that reflect back to the detector. Okay, one mean you didn't see that one is very opaque. This means the material is very opaque. Okay, you cannot see the effect of the black and white underneath. Okay, if the small number, this means it's more translucent. Okay, because the background or the black gonna absorb the light that you shine to it. If you look at this one, it means you're gonna see also zirconia is totally opaque. The light cannot pass through. Is that true? No. Because this one uses a different technique. Okay? But if you want to do another technique, this is on the zirconia compared to the IMAX or glass. They use something like a separate in the middle, the light on the top, and the detector at the bottom. And you're going to see the translucent, the light detect at the bottom around, for the zirconia around 7 to 12%. Though zirconia is not totally opaque, because I said at the beginning, ceramic is transparent. But because of the crystal structure, if one crystal is going to be very clear. But zirconia have a lot of crystal. The light cannot pass through a lot of crystal, because when you meet the gain boundary, the light sometimes reflect back, sometimes absorb at the gain boundary. So the zirconia, the light can pass through the zirconia around 10%, comparing to the IMAX around 20%. So IMAX is like a standard for the translucency property of the material. To be clear, this one, the light go to the top. This is zirconia, this is clear here. You cannot see the backlight here. This is porcelain. We can see over here the background. This is impressed. It's still glass. A lot of glass there. Better. This is the glass impressed to and IMAX do the same thing. Okay, this one the first generation of the IMAX. Okay, this is alumina. Zirconia is a little bit, okay, but PFM totally okay. You cannot see the background. If you use the light source on the background, you're going to see it. Okay, the light can pass through all the surface over here. Even certainly you see a little bit. Okay, but for the PFM, you have metal here, you cannot see the light pass through the PFM. So that's why ceramic is transparent. In one of my studies, I tried to do research. We want to use like a glass ceramic on the implant apartment. I did one research, try to assume that we have like a titanium as an implant apartment. Zirconia that is white in color, zirconia is yellow in color. What happened to the material? We found that, look at this one. This one is a control. Okay, you want something like A3 over here, okay, to 1 millimeters of ceramic, 2.5 millimeters of the ceramic. This is a ceramic on titanium, on the white zirconia, on the yellow zirconia, okay. And we found that we make a measurement of delta E. Delta E means what? The color measurement comparing to the control. If you see the large number, it means they are totally different, like 10, 14, is different in color. If the smaller the number, it means it's going to match to the what you expected. So that's why we want to have a like very low number, around 3 something, 3.5 something, is means you cannot be detected by your own eyes the difference between two colors. We found that we need to, the best one is the zirconia that is yellow as background. We use white, sometimes it's not better than titanium. If you see the number, white and titanium is not much different. Okay, they are not much different compared to the yellow zirconia. Okay, and we found that we need to make a restoration and the anterior tip thicker than 2 millimeters. Try to cover the color of the background material, especially titanium and white zirconia. You have to be less than 2 millimeters. Sometimes you need to make a restoration more than like a 2.5 millimeters to cover the color of the zirconia or the titanium. But for the yellow zirconia, maybe around 2 millimeters is okay. And there are studies trying to find the effect of the cement about main color and the thickness of the ceramic. They found that two color, cement color, and the ceramic thickness, affect the resulting color, the final color of the restoration. So you have to be careful when you make an awesome restoration. You have to consider the color of the two structure, the color of the cement, and the color of or the thickness of the ceramic as well. Now look at the case. This is from the paper. On this one, two fracture, and this one from the paper of Journal of American Dental Restoration. If the two structure is the color, no problem. The color, you can use any color ceramic. The most you can get, you use the one that is very translucent. This one use a prismatic glass, and you see the color, the ceramic make it very well, so no problem. If there's something like at the bottom, something over here, the black color over here, if you want to use the same thing, you're going to see something like dark color over here. So you try to avoid the group that have a lot of glass, and then like a feldspar or glass ceramic sometimes. Okay? And this one, you see, they remove the pigment crown, and there's a little bit color here. I will change it. Use the white composite and use the zirconia crown. Because zirconia is very crystallized material, it's a polycrystal. The light cannot pass through zirconia easily. So when you select the zirconia as a substructure, so there is no effect of the background color in there. Look at my case. Sorry about the stuff. The photo is not very good for me, okay? Because I just use my version of the phone. This one is an IMAX, IMAX. This Austrian. This one I use a temporary cement, and this one I fixed already. You're gonna see the one very clear, like a dark cement. You're gonna see the color of the cement there. After I can remove it, it's gonna be the same thing. But right now, it's still temporary cementation in there. So you're gonna see the white color of the temporary cement in there. And this one, patient come here. This is one of our student guests, okay? Come here, this one. Okay, we try to make it like in the morning, make the crown and some in here. And this one uses monolithic We use our classroom without media. Okay, like in the morning session, you're gonna see a Professor Chong, okay? They try to use a classroom and media, right? To see the certification like the byland. And this one only use one material, try to cover something underneath and make it. So it look okay, because you make a lot at the same time, there's no problem. It can cover, the very yellow color underneath. And this one of my case, okay, I have a problem with this one. But right now you don't need to worry about it that much because the lab can do anything about it. If you want to cover the one with Emacs, sometimes you can do it, but the color is gonna look a little bit white because of the nature of the structure. They're gonna use the ceramic that is very opaque underneath. And right now there's no problem with the metal over here. But I don't like the appearance of this one that much because you're gonna see it's a little bit white. But when you make four at the same time, the patient says it's okay. It's okay, no problem. And I like it, so that's fine. But for me, I think it's a little bit too white because of the technician trying to cover the metal color. They use very white substructure of the Emacs. Okay, then you're gonna see it a little bit white. But compared to the beginning, because the patient have a lot of space, I didn't show the, because sometimes I don't have the camera there. I did do it and I just make the preparation already and try to show you. And finally, patient is fine, but for me, I think maybe I can make it a little bit better. When you use a monolithic, and right now you can use a monolithic as a zirconia or Emacs like in previous case, and there are a lot of studies trying to find out if this material gonna wear the two structures or not. But a lot of studies, I can conclude for you that they found that the best way to make the circuit flexible by using just polishing, manual polishing, instead of put it like a glaze or fire it again like a casing porcelain or something like that. Glaze gonna make sometimes just enough, and sometimes it's gonna be worse than just polishing. Polish, always said, is better in the if you consider it wear, okay, it's gonna cost it less wear than glazing or firing again in the furnace. So polish, zirconia, Emacs or plastic study show less wear of opposite filament comparing to the gas specimen. A lot of study about that. And this is one of the clinical study. Because somebody gonna concerned about the zirconia, because zirconia is really hard. If somebody used to make it, it's really hard, adjust your position because the zirconia is very strong and hard. So people just worry about if it's gonna wear our enamel or our patient's enamel. So there's a lot of study. This is one of clinical study who is my colleague at the University of Florida. She found that monolithic zirconia has exhibited comparable wear of enamel compared to porcelain or metal ceramic. There's no difference. After 6 months and 1 year, maybe first 6 months a little bit less wear. After 1 year, it's comparable. For the clinical application, when the patient comes to our student, patient doesn't like it. We like it. You see with BFM and some feeling here and dark margin here. So our student remove all of them. Okay, make a linear preparation over here, make a curve preparation over here, and when you move the curve here, you see the metal like that case. And so we're gonna decide, because I have actually a bit of white color, so we're gonna change the material a little bit. So finally, I made an insulam. Insulam made it like a substructure between and later. And insulam is what is it? It's a polycrystal. It's aluminum. Polycrystal, you have a lot of crystal. When the light passes one crystal, right? So you can pass for the second crystal or the next 1,000 crystal. So the light cannot pass to them easily. That's why we can cover the color this one very well. okay, no problem, no problem. And the patient is okay, it's very clear. Comparing to the previous case, it looked large white, and this one is black. It's black. So you don't need to worry about the color of the underneath abutment. This one come to our 6th-year student. Come with this, I don't know why he keep this one for a very long time. Come to our university to make it crown. And after declaration, the color here, it looks very yellow. The student made a 10 crown by the assist of the supervisor. And finally, he made a crown over. The patient is happy. What the material is an incident. So incident is a polycrystal, so the light cannot pass through polycrystal easily. So we don't need to worry about the color. It's covered the color. If you use IMAX, you have to be careful. You have to choose the color very white. Maybe it's okay for the white. But this one, you're going to see is very translucent, and you have no effect on the color underneath. I just a lot of things there. When the photo is not very clear, from my circle, okay, come to make, remove the crown, and make an implant here. This is an impression copy for the implant. This is an implant about metal that you do research how to cover the metal, right? This is a metal post and core over here. And finally, we make this one. Is that okay? So I just said to the patient, I want to make similar to this one. Will that be fine? No. This is another clear color. So finally, we just make it a little bit, change a little bit color by staining a little bit. And maybe technician do too much. I do make a stain on here too. But the patient don't see it like us on the photo. So she just came to see me the last one. I told her to make this one. So make this also nice. Okay. This one is incident, polycrystal. So you don't need to worry about metal. But I don't convince you to use insulin, but you understand the basic that the polycrystal isosoconium alumina, you don't need to worry about the background color. But if you use glass, it's very beautiful, it's very clear. So you have to be concerned about the color of the substructure. But I cannot cover everything because there is a lot of translucency level of the material over there. This one comes here in Thailand. It's a magic we don't know what kind of restoration will come to us. Want to change it very fast. Okay. But for the first step, you remove it. And this one is okay already. But at the beginning, when right after removing it, you see a lot of cavities here, but anything. So I told her you need to wait. And she compared, she doesn't want to wait, she wants to make it viable, but I said, no, you cannot. So I need to remove the gum, but if you have enough to make a restoration, but you're going to see it. So you're going to see, compensate a little bit, but that's the best I can do, because she wants the white, but not this white color, but I try to, use it. You cannot use it too white because it won't match with your that's the best I can do. Just allow A2, so that's it. Okay? But now she's okay, she's just on. Okay? And this one, you can see, patient not satisfied with the crowd here. Okay? And maybe it's a little bit too short for the patient. And after you remove this one, this comes to our student, Okay, and she made it, remove it. And right now, if you want to cover this one, you don't need to use, maybe you don't want to use alumina or like Instagram. We have an opaque composite. You just dye a little bit metal here and cover it with acrylic composite. And then it's going to look like this. And you have to be careful. You have to consider how to communicate with the app. You have to tell, your apartment color is green. What there is apartment shape. This is the way you communicate with the technician. It's APA, it's very dark, and B3, okay, because NB2 is very white, and B3, okay, you chose the apartment color, and finally, the shade is white, and nature happy. Okay. Then you have the smile line. Okay, I don't know about it, how to make a smile design. Maybe you can use digital, or you can use wax, or you can, up to you. And if you see the patient like this, how do you mature it? Because the patient has the record of the fracture, where anything to fracture, okay, come to see our student. Okay, we're going to make a peritoneal treatment with the implant here. Okay. Okay, okay. Finally, so because we worry about the fracture of the cervix, so we have to choose the very strong material. So this can use a monolithic zirconium or the zirconium. Right now, zirconium is better. Okay, after that, still have one more. Okay, so here, okay. Okay, this goes at the beginning, like this, and like this. Okay, but you consider now, when you see, mostly the ventricle is worn out, really high binding force. Okay, we chose the zirconium to avoid the future fracture. But sometimes you don't need to use always, like the zirconia all the time. Sometimes this one, my student come to see me, ask me to make a drum for it. So this is a drum. It's a monolithic, but no veneer. Monolithic means no veneer, no glass, only core. But in the past, IMAX, we use just for the core. But right now, we can use it. Not right now, but the company never, made a commercial like a monolithic concept. That's why right now, monolithic concept always, go to the zirconia. But like 10 years ago, I made it for my student. And now right now, she came back to the Moscow program. Discount studio. That's why we have really nice photo, because we have good camera. We can take a photo from her. Okay, look, very nice compared to the zirconia. Because it's glass. What I say that crystal structure on the glass, crystal on the glass, the same refractive index. Like when you look at the swimming pool, right? The light passes through the air to the water, is generally. But for this one, because the crystal, the glass, almost have the identical refractive index. So that's why this material is very translucent. And this one, and the tiger slide. I made a monolithic car, and this is a temporary car. They are number 2 full. And finally, we made the car for the patient. Okay, just maybe last month, and then patient is okay, happy with the monolithic. Okay. And this one, I said, at the first molar is 1/6, right, monolithic. Because the color is very yellow, but the way to make yellow, because monolithic, you will use ink dot. Ink dot is only one color. The way to make this color, you have to stain at the surface, like paint the color and the cloud. But at the opposite, when you adjust the opposite, you can see the white color will show you, A4 will show you. But you cannot, if you want to make the same color because you want the opposite surface, I don't worry about it that much. Just leave it that way. But the color can be gone after you make the opposite adjustment. Okay? And this one. This one is, there's one color there. If the color is normal, like A3, 18.5, monolithic gas ceramic or IMAX, press or IMAX cap, it's going to bend very well. This one is, you can get it 4.5. You see, one of my students made a car for free, just pay for the material fee. Okay? You can see when they fix it. You substitute over okay. It's much very well. Comparing to the zirconia. But zirconia right now is better, but not this good. But you need to consider compensate between the strength and the beauty. You want to make it very beautiful. Okay. You must have a very good preparation, and you have to explain to your patient. You have some risk that this might be fractured in the future. But comparing with PFM, the glass is very small, like 3 or 4 times. Because the percent is just, if you say the fracture toughness is less than 1, but glass is around 3. Okay. This one, implant picture, same for the surgeon, make a graph. It's not very, not very perfect, but the patient is okay after the make call. This one a monolithic call, okay? Monolithic call. Can cover the white circulating color, and patient is okay. But actually, it's very hard to make just one tube, and then compared to make 5 or 6 or 10 of them at the same time. Which one? This one. Partially. But this one is not monolithic, it's linear. Okay? This one. Okay, actually it's here it's not okay. This is the same color. Okay. After make preparation, and it's matched perfectly because it's translucent, because it's very translucent according to its microstructure of the translucent. That I said at the beginning, because the crystal is from glass, that's why there's not much difference. Instead of like a zirconia or aluminum, the crystal is make it very opaque, but for the glass or IMAX, the silicon, I said IMAX, is very big. You see another one, but this is their insertion. Okay. Okay. Glass. And this one, you see the difference between the top and the bottom, right? The patient it's unfortunate that they don't have the camera that day. Patient comes in with this thing all over the mouth, okay? All over the mouth with abrasion and adhesion at the same time. He came to our department and he brings like a cash around 200,000. He sold a coffee somewhere in the northeastern province. And came here, just want to make a change, and we make a call for them, and for her, sorry. We will call, it's an auxiliary, processing. But for the bottom, it's because the anatomy of the lower anterior teeth is very small and very narrow at the cervical part. I cannot make a lot of preparation, so we make a different. You can see a little bit okay over here compared to this one. It's just nice. And right now, it doesn't make a feeling of it, but as a possibility, I think it's okay to make a feeling and to make a also the time. Okay. And different over here, you see the difference. But the patient is okay right now. She has almost, maybe for her it's perfect, comparing to something like this all over the oral cavity. But for the pyramid, it's not that bad if you make it thick enough. And this one, the patient comes to the clinic, okay, and have the previous problem over here because of the gap of the previous car is not very good, and he has a total problem over here. He made a crown, PFM, this is PFM, but it's very thick. You cannot see the effect of the metal over here. Okay. If you make it thick enough, like in one of these that I showed you the previous slide, you can make it like 2.5 preparation, because even the core is just a little bit liquid, so you can make it a little bit thick over here, and this is a pentacircuit. It's thick enough, no problem with the metal, even the color over there, because there is a portion for the metal portion over there. And finally, the ligament preparation of the ostomy. You have to be concerned. In the morning session, you can see maybe for the beginner, you don't need to worry because there's no stay over here. Okay, just at the radio, maybe you can make it 0.6, 0.7. Okay, but for the car, at least you have to make even zirconia or IMAX or plastic. You must do it around 1 millimeter. Otherwise, it's going to be fractured. It will be very shortly or in the long term, it will be fractured. And the preparation is fine. Right now, you have this. You can make a shoulder preparation or deep chamfer, so around 1 millimeter. But you have to be aware that at the office of surgery, if you make a plastic, you may need more space compared to the zirconia. Maybe zirconia 1 millimeter will be enough, but for the plastic, you might need 2 or 1.5 millimeters to make it short when you want to start. And finally, thank you for having me here, and we welcome you to come to our beautiful university. Thank you.